Mike Keller. We are required to fill the vacancy within 30 days. Our November 4th meeting falls exactly on the 30 days after Mike's resignation, thus compelling us to fill this seat. So as requested, in consultation with myself, we determined the most appropriate person to appoint would be Lisa Schultz. Lisa is running unopposed for this 2-year seat, and she obviously won this today from the election yesterday. So this evening, Mrs. Novak will swear in Lisa Schultz to complete this former trustee's term, which ends December 31st.
Thank you. All right, this is the oath of office for the Lapeer Community School Board of Education for the term ending December 31st, 2020. Do you accept the position of member of the Board of Education of Lapeer Community Schools?
I do.
Are you a qualified school elector of the Lapeer Community Schools?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education of Lapeer Community Schools according to the best of your ability?
I do.
Okay. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I hereby accept oath of office. If you could sign here, Lisa Schultz, duly noted, sign here. And I do solemnly swear, sign right here.
Thank you very much. And if you would like to take a seat, Lisa, right next to Dr. Watson. There you go. Thank you.
Sorry about that placement. It's the best we could do.
Welcome, Mrs. Schultz. Thank you, Mrs. Novak, for swearing her in this evening. So we will move on in our agenda. So, Mr. Superintendent Wandry, would you please introduce the presenting school for this evening?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Madam President. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Doug Lindsay, principal of your high school, and he will be sharing with us LHS's progress towards benchmark 1.2A and 1.2C this evening. Mr. Lindsay?
So yeah, tonight we're going to like to talk about two different board goals that have a focus primarily at the high school level. As Mr. Wagner said, we have 1.2A, which is it's something that really only pertains to us within the board goals. It's focused on students completing their FAFSA, which, as you may know, had a son or daughter graduate, is something that they need to have in place in order to accept and receive local scholarships granted by most colleges. You might qualify for, say, the president's scholarship at a school, but they will not grant you that scholarship unless you complete your FAFSA. It is also how our students apply for their financial aid and support. Whether they qualify for loans, Pell Grants, and all those things are determined through that. And it's a two-part process. When applying for the FAFSA, the student indicates or starts a FAFSA application. They put in their information. Then mom or dad have to also go in and put in their financial information as well. And that helps determine how much the student receives. They've kind of opened it up a little bit. It used to be you could only apply from March on, and now they start accepting them in October of the previous year. So actually, I just did my freshman daughter's FAFSA completion for next year for her school district. I did include up here the board goals that Mrs. Bradford updates with our data. You can see our progress on that over the last 4 years of data. So the class of 2017, we had about 55% of our students complete, 61% submitted, but somewhere in that process, either mom and dad didn't finish their part, student didn't go back in and finish their part, so there's a little bit of a gap. So one of our focuses are closing that gap between submission and completion. Okay. The other piece is our goal is we want to work towards getting to 80% of our kids completing the FAFSA annually. We have not had the progress that we want to see there, and we'll talk about some steps that we do take and some future steps that we're working towards to try and increase that 58% for last year's graduating class, working towards that 80%. So, there we go. All right. So each year we have a couple of 3-4 things that we do. We tend to start in the spring of the junior year with junior jump when we start to introduce this idea. For this year's graduating class, we weren't able to do that in June because we weren't in session in June. When we run junior jump, it is something where we bring in representatives from a 4-year, from a 2-year college, from an independent college, as well as the military branches. We rotate the kids around. We also do a session on things for college or knowing how to go. We then kick off that senior year typically at our registration nights with the counselors presenting again on know how to go and paying for college. This year, with everything that was going on, we did not run our paying for college session at registration. But in college month, as I have up there, we circled back to it. We partnered with Oakland University, who is kind enough to have a rep that specializes in financial aid come and help our parents guide them through the FAFSA completion. So we give parents a list of documents that they would need. It's usually a 1040 from the previous year. They bring that in, and this person will help guide you through and walk you through that completion. That is part of college month this year with everything, so much stuff going virtual. We did run that session on October 22nd. We did have a handful of families that came in to get support on site with the college support people from OU zooming in. We also had a number of families that were at home just joining the Zoom. So we did offer that in a kind of a hybrid manner. Also, each year in October, being college month, and the reason October is a big piece of college month is those early college applications are typically due no later than October 31st. Some colleges set an earlier deadline, but if you're going to apply to Western Michigan University, for example, they'll have a deadline of October 20th maybe, where if you apply by then, you'll be considered for your local scholarships. So we really push hard in October with that. We bring in a number of college reps. We actually posted this year all those rep visits have been virtual. But we had, I believe, in the month of October, 17 reps in our iConnect sessions for a half-hour presentation of kids that they can sign up for. We also will continue that and have a couple taking place here in early November. Our counselors pay classroom visits to each of the senior English classes, because that's the one class everyone has. So we go visit the AP Lit, the AP Research, the English 12 capstone, and do presentations on the FAFSA, as well as how to go about completing that. They work with students to, we talk with them about applying for college and share information about which colleges have free apps in October. They help students create a Parchment account, which is how we send transcripts to the colleges. They help kids create their FAFSA ID, which is that first step in completing that FAFSA goal. And then talk to them about applying for scholarships both at a local level and state level. And then finally, for those students that qualify, they talk with them about their TIP eligibility, how to check that and see if they qualify for the TIP scholarship. They have continued on since meeting with the seniors, going into junior and sophomore classrooms. They made it into 31 English classes thus far, and talking to them about what's coming up and as next steps as we're working to build that college boom culture as a part of the pre-high school. With that said, those things have been taking place for a few years, and it hasn't moved our needle as much as we'd like to. So we recently worked with a couple of individuals, Mrs. Bradford and myself, Mr. Wine, who's been a part of the conversation along with the rest of the poll, looking at acquiring a college advisor through MCAN. The Michigan College Access Network is a statewide organization. Our councils have been a part of it for several years. There's a local scholarship, a local group as well called LCAN. And Ann can never speak to the ISD, helps run that. And so Ann has helped us submit an application, which we did on October 29th, which is the early deadline for that. So we'll get some feedback and can maybe modify or make adjustments to our application. And the final application is due November 15th. But what the college advisor role does is a commitment by the district and MCAN to acquire a trained person whose sole purpose is to focus on advising students about forming that plan for college. They run events like some of the things we've been doing, a lot of those ideas that we've been using that come through participation with MCAN. But its goal is to bring in and get our kids to understand and have individual meetings with students and parents with that advisor on how do you apply for college, how do you select the correct school for you. And when we discuss college in the high school, we're always discussing it from a standpoint of it's continuing your education beyond high school in a program that leads to a degree or certificate. So it's not just going to a four-year university, maybe going to a two-year school, maybe going to a trade school, maybe going into an apprenticeship program. And this advisor has training to help support work that, because that definition comes from MCAN. And has been a big piece of what we've been doing. The district, if we get an advisor, and through the grant, that advisor gets paid an annual salary of about $25,000 total from a combination between the district and MCAN. And it's tiered over a 3-year period. So the first year, the district commitment is $9,000, the second year is $12,000, and then it's $15,000. But it is a 3-year commitment at a minimum. Beyond that, we can choose as a district, if we have an advisor, to continue to keep moving forward with an advisor in our program. So it doesn't automatically end at 3 years. When we talked to Mrs. Kanarski, Mrs. Bradford, and I did a Zoom with her, she talked about several other districts in our county that have gone through this process and then granted advisors, including at Tech. But MCAN has a couple schools that have been doing this for 7 years now, and they have an advisor still in place, and how that is helping them. Currently statewide, there are about 54 schools that have advisors, and MCAN's looking to add another 6 to 8 schools this year. So excited about that opportunity. Because it will help us move forward of having that dedicated person that is working with the student, with the parents, and talking about just those things. How do I do my FAFSA? How do I select my school? What's the correct curriculum for them? Finding those options, helping them through that process. So,
Doug, can I interject one thing? I think it's really important to know too that when we talk about trade schools and apprenticeships, and I was shocked when I worked in the industry, right? And I was shocked to find out that an electrician no longer can just go on an apprenticeship. They have to have college education, and they have to have classes. Doesn't have to be college, but it has to be classes. Right. So I just think that's really interesting. Maybe others don't know that, but you know, apprenticeship programs are different than maybe they were when we were going to school.
And there's a lot of programs of that nature too, like our ed tech programs that we participate in, or the programs that we have at the school that are CTE programs, have articulated credit colleges, studying that process. Right. It's really working towards that certification.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that people can't just go get an apprenticeship. I mean, yeah, it's great, but they still require the classes nowadays. That's kind of interesting.
And what I've heard from some electricians and pieces, for example, in their field is, you know, they'll have kids who will start off in the ROT program for electrician. They have the right characteristics. They'll sign them up to be an apprentice, pay for them to take their classes, and start that kind of job study piece, or, you know, we can get it going early, because they're starting with the workers that are in the skilled trades. And so that has changed quite a bit over the last several years. The other piece I wanted to share with you today is a little bit about our efforts on another goal that's primarily high school, that really only has one class that is effective in another building, with someone having a AP class. But wanted to talk about our goals on our core goal related to, students earning a qualifying score in AP. Last year, when I presented, I talked about, multiple pieces with, goal 1B, which is students going towards that college education or that continued education, the different ways that we can do that with, AP, dual enrollment, middle college program, or ed tech. But we have a specific goal related to our AP courses, and that is that we attained a level of 70% of our kids earn a qualifying score on their AP exams, meaning they get a 3, 4, or 5 that would rank them college prep. You can see the most recent 3 years of data on those. Our 2017 score, spring of 2018, spring of 2019, and spring of 2020. Spring of 2020 looks different, right? And we're still living that. But we had a very nice jump in our AP scores. The tests were formatted differently. But we kind of discussed with some staff, and Mr. Wenzel, who's a former AP teacher who coordinates our AP program for us now, as to what maybe led to that increase. A few things that we've identified that have led to that increase, and we think will continue to work towards these. One is last spring created a forced our hand to use the resources supplied by College Board through AP Classroom. With the shutdown in March, the College Board provided more information than they ever have before related to AP exams, what to study, what would be on the test, tutorial videos. They continue to provide that type of resource to our staff and to our students. And so across the board, the other piece that kind of forced the hand to utilizing that is now they've also moved our AP registration to the fall. So it's currently going on now. Here in the next week or so, we have to go down and submit our order for our AP exams for next spring. That's done through AP Classroom. So every student in every class that's taking an AP is in an AP classroom. The teachers are utilizing the resources there. Another piece that is a contributing factor, and just kind of going back to this number, I guess, before I share the next piece, the 57.5%, that large gain that we had there of about 8%, almost 10%, excuse me. We moved the needle. The state and national scores remain pretty consistent. So we gained ground on the state and national scores with a few classes taking significant jumps. And so we were happy with that. But the other piece that plays a part of that is having our staff with their professional development they participate in, and that's really in 2 different forms. One is last summer, I think we sent 5 teachers to APSIs, which were virtual. The nice thing was, instead of only having the option to go maybe to Grand Blanc or Macomb, which are local, and you can get the advisor that's there, we were fortunate enough to be able to send our people all across the nation to go to whichever instructor they felt would best meet their needs. And they did that from the high school or from their living room. And so we had some really good training. And there are some people in the AP world that are renowned for what they do in, say, AP US history. And so Ms. Jones and Ms. Snowden were able to go and listen to the best of the best and signed up. I think their APSI was actually based out of Peppermint, California. Mr. Sprudy on our staff is actually a presenter at APSIs and is very well known in the College Board community for AP seminar, and it's evident in his scores annually how well his kids do. The third thing that we did do is also some professional development, but one of the pieces that College Board has started making available to us are instructional reports based off of their students' tests the previous year. So it breaks down what standards within the AP exam that your kids did well on, what ones did they not do so well on. And our AP instructors have started reaching out to our learning coaches and do the coaching cycles focused around the standards that they need to move the needle. So, for example, Mr. Rodriguez focused a lot on, Mr. Strudy as a learning coach last year, focused a lot on FAQs, which is the questions, the essays that students have to write. When the test was modified for AP Gov, the entire exam became 2 FAQs. So the multiple choice part was eliminated. And the work that was done throughout the school year, helping our students be better prepared for those types of questions, paid off in our scores at the end of the year. That's kind of an update on the 2 goals, our progress, our steps that we've taken, and steps that we hope to take in the future. I want to open it up to questions that I may be able to answer for you tonight. Thank you for your time.
Questions?
Just a couple of comments.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it's a great idea if you can help and Michelle get to the end that advisor. I remember when we went through that a few years ago for the first time, I thought I was fairly intelligent and humble pretty quickly trying to go through a family process. So, I mean, I think that's a huge win for our district if you guys can pull that off. Yeah.
Feel good about the opportunity, and it's pretty optimistic that we'll hopefully be able to get some.
And I know that every time you apply for something, there's a really good chance you may not get it also, but I'm at least pleased that you're getting involved in the process of trying to land it for our district, so good job. As far as the AP stuff, I mean, I had experience with that this past spring. The videos that they put on were incredible, like you said, the teachers are from who knows where, top notch. And I mean, it also turned out to work as a great supplement to what the kids were learning here. And so it was really well done. I was impressed by that.
And it definitely paid dividends for our students who took advantage of it, and you can see that in their scores.
So back on the page with the percent of submissions for the FAFSA.
Yep.
So what percentage of either 12 or 13-year students go on to further education that they would need the FAFSA?
I don't have the data. I get a report from the state on that. I don't have it with me. It tells us what percent of our kids complete their first year of college. So it doesn't tell us, how many start. It does tell us what percent complete. So if someone only does a semester and then doesn't return, they don't have that. Last year, that percent, and I'm going from memory, so I'm going to do off, but I'm going to say it was about 41.5% of our students completed their first year of college. It is something I can follow about that, but it's Mr. Walker. I may be off on that, but I don't know.
What percentage do you want to do the FAFSA?
Our
You
goal,
want 100%?
our goal is
To actually fill it out.
to fill it out quickly. And that's a goal we set for a few years. We do understand that 100% obviously is not reasonable, attainable, or fit. But we're looking for that.
Do you know about people who fill it out that aren't working with you to fill it out? Parents are like, oh, I can handle this, and,
So they're associated to the school.
okay.
So I get a weekly update, that will start here shortly, that a weekly email that says, for this week, you had this many submit, this many complete, and compares it to the previous school. So those will start coming in next week.
Do you think some parents just don't apply because they know they won't qualify though? I'm wondering if you're battling that a little bit.
There's a little bit of that, I think. To be honest, I know my daughter was not gonna apply or qualify for anything other than some student loans. But in order for her to get her scholarship from Eastern Michigan, they require that she complete it. So we complete it, and they come back and say, you don't qualify for the college grants or anything like that. You qualify for this amount of money, the student loans would be cheaper.
Like, I usually wasn't gonna qualify the same thing, but I didn't realize I helped you out by doing it, I just did it for the most of it.
That's fine. He said no one ever.
It's fun for me, it's my
Lisa, I have a FAFSA to fill out this year.
I was gonna say, I love it.
You were the first person I've heard reference that it's fun.
Yeah.
All my kids' friends call me, and they're like, will you help me?
I know
I'm like,
I'm
Line 10A of section 2, write that, get this number.
I guess it's my accounting and numbers, I don't know, but.
We're adding it.
Any other questions that I can answer for you? I'm going to talk really quickly through it. It's been a busy week. Initially, I had planned to have a couple others with me, but it's spread a little thin, and there's a couple of them are off doing other things tonight. Mr. Wesley is going to come talk about the AP that he's done in the volleyball game at Grand Valley. So hopefully I'm covering.
I know, I'm glad
Sorry.
you can watch for me.
Hopefully I will be
And she's
going
playing.
tomorrow night to watch this in the district.
Thank you. I agree with Mike, advisor is a great idea. I mean,
Yes.
Hopeful.
It's a great
I wish we could carry that through freshman year, but, you know, because like you said, I think the percentage of the 40% reflects that lack of handholding. It's serious. That's, you know, it's huge in college. They just don't play that.
Help in that transition is important. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our presenting school. We will now move into public comment. So a board meeting is a meeting of school district business held in public. It's not a public meeting. The board is not going to respond to those making public comment, but will direct the superintendent to follow up with the presenter. 30 minutes is set aside for public comment, so each presenter is being asked to keep their comments brief. The board does not comment in public on any student or employee and asks the presenter to be respectful of any person they comment about. So please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Thank you. So Catherine, you want to come up?
Good evening. My name is Max Ku. I'm a 13th year student in the Lapeer Early College Program. And due to some unfortunate events that started 8 months ago, I am currently failing miserably and kind of being held here. So when I originally signed up for the early college program, I thought it was a great deal. I always knew that college was extremely expensive, and if I could get my associates for free, that this would be a great way of going about it. However, I did not know that we would be struck by a pandemic, and that all my classes would be moved to online. With this structure, I cannot learn this way. It's extremely difficult for me. And I haven't been able to have any help from any of my teachers. I don't have any Zoom calls. I don't have really any learning. It's all me teaching myself and relying on myself. This is not what I signed up for. Even with Mott, I signed up for in-person classes, and they gave me all online classes. I am just asking for possibly some sort of exception to the rule here. I don't have my high school diploma. I did not complete econ. I'm currently enrolled in it at Mott. I am also missing one math credit that I was supposed to complete my 13th year. And I don't know if there's any way we could work out a gap year so that I could go back to Mott when they're in session in person, or if there was some way we could work out for me to get my diploma. But I'm just wasting my time here, my money, and my transcripts are crippling. So I'd just like to know if there's anything that the school board can do for me to be successful.
to play off that. I have an older child that goes to college who's home, who we, because he can't have face-to-face instruction, we said, you know, your grade point is important. So if you need to drop classes, do what you can do to keep your grade point up, which is what he did. Had Max had the option to do that, we would have been instructed him the same way. But he didn't. His option was to continue on with math with no teachers. And, or if he were to drop out of math, he was going to have to take a full load of high school classes, which made no sense when he needed one class to graduate. So I really would be very surprised if he's the only early college kid in this boat. I don't know what to do to help him. It's a very depressed environment at our home when he tries to work. It's just reading. It's just sitting at a computer and reading, and there's no instruction, and there's no raising your hand and asking questions or sharing notes with someone else. And he's not the kid to do that. He's not the kid to learn that way. So he's had plans. He's saved money for lots and lots of years. His only ambition is to be a pilot, airline pilot. We've toured all the schools in Michigan to offer that. He's decided on an MC in Traverse City, and I don't know what his transcripts are going to look like. I don't know how he's going to get in. Not to mention he's going to have debt from that everything. Then he took 2 4-credit classes this year, so we have a balance to carry on that because he took 4-credit classes that he is likely not going to pass. So then we'll have additional debt on top of that, and it's important to us obviously that he's got a good GPA and that he's passing his classes, but also that he's getting his high school diploma. We just feel like there has to be another way. There has to be other kids in this position, and there has to be a fair way to accommodate these kids that are just really struggling with this. So what happens now? You just take it into consideration and give us a call, or what happens now?
Well, what we'll do is we'll have Superintendent Laundrie follow up on this, and that's how we'll do it.
So we have talked to Mrs. Pico, both of us. We have talked to Mr. Lindsay, both of us. He does get tutoring from Mr. Patton, and has emailed his teachers at night with no really solution. So we feel like we've checked up all the boxes and we've gone through the proper channels, but I feel like he is in a very, bad situation, which he was ahead of the game with his dual enrollment AP classes before COVID, and now it's a big detriment to him. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Superintendent Laundrie, I'll hand this over to you for the evaluation update.
Yes, thank you. So as the board knows, we have our newest board members in the audience and at the table this evening, so this will serve as a good review. The superintendent evaluation is one of the most important functions that a board member fulfills in their time on the board. In addition to approving board policy and the annual budget, the third component of your stated duties is the evaluation of the superintendent. So we have, and I'll show you a system that is ongoing. This is not a one-shot deal. This is not a one-day opportunity to evaluate my performance. It is an ongoing process that begins in the spring of each year, and I provide the board with 4 updates, 2 formal in the form of a presentation at a public meeting, and 2 informal, which come in written form and are submitted to the board via email. The system that we use, I'll show this evening what that looks like, but it's an online system that the board can look at and review any day. So What I'm gonna do this evening is not go through all the components of that, but simply show you how to access it, and at your leisure as a board member, you can look at the evidence that's submitted that I have placed inside this system. So there are these domains. There are 5 stated domains that the superintendent, based on this system developed by the MASA, governance and board relations, community relations, staff relations, business and finance, instructional leadership, and then 2 other components required, which are student growth and the progress that's made annually towards the stated district goals. What's unique about the peer, and something that we're really proud of, is that the district goals that the teachers, the principals, our central office staff, and myself were all subjected to the same standards. So in terms of student growth and the measurements that we use to determine teacher effectiveness are the exact same things utilized to demonstrate my effectiveness. So for example, if we determine, based on our formula, that student growth in the district is at an effective range, the board can then, and I cannot submit a highly effective rating for myself as it relates to student growth because it's not consistent with where the rest of the district is. I like the fact that there's congruence there, and you'll see that throughout the presentation. So the timeline looks like this. In April of every year, we begin the evaluation process with our personnel committee, and by May, that timeline and our goals are mutually established, so we're looking towards the end of that current year and looking towards the fall. I provide the first informal update in August, in October, November, this formal update that you're seeing now, another informal in December, and then in January, we will begin the kind of more formal part of the evaluation with the personnel committee to review the process, review my contract, and then in February, I provide my final formal update to the board and report out on the evidence that I've collected in SharePoint, which is the online system we use to collect all the evidence. And in March, the board convenes in closed session to review all that evidence, and if approved, my evaluation and contract are then adopted in open session in the March meeting, and then we begin the process over again in April. So it's an odd timeline, but it's one that, based on our district practices of when we establish goals for the district, it's in line with that. In previous years, when I first started here 10 years ago, the superintendent evaluation timeline was more congruent with the school year calendar. This is a much better approach to it because we get the opportunity to look at a calendar year as opposed to a school year, right? Because when goals are established, when the budget is approved, is not necessarily the appropriate time to look at the superintendent contract and evaluation system. So we try and stay away from that. So when we formally adopt our budget in June every year, the superintendent contract and evaluation have already been completed a few months prior to. So our focus as a leadership team can be on those important tasks. So the SharePoint link, each board member has instructions of how to get here, and you can see the table contains all the domains that I mentioned. I'll scroll down here. I also put each formal update and informal update, the evaluation login instructions, how do you get to this screen, the evaluation process PowerPoint, which was presented 2 years ago, which basically explains how this system was adopted as part of that, and then the timeline annually is updated. But essentially, and I'm not going to go through all of this or read it to anyone, but just to show you that, for example, in governance and board relations, if you click on this, you'll see a number of entries that have been submitted this year, and governance and board relations has within the domain a number of different evidence points that have to be touched, and they're labeled. And so what I've done in each of these categories is submitted some evidence as proof that we have a solid board relations system and a way of communicating with the board and the district. So for example, we've included a weekender, a board meeting packet, and then this is a message sent to the school board where we were soliciting your feedback on our return to school plan. So when we were talking about going from virtual to face-to-face, I solicited the board and our K-12 team about what did they think we needed to focus on, what were the strong points of the plan, what were the weaknesses, and then I provide this evidence as part of my evaluation that says, yep, Matt seeks our input, he has formal ways of making sure that the board insight and opinion is collected, and then I submit that as evidence in the SharePoint, and then when you're looking at the end of the year to see, is Matt effective in this area, and you see 7 or 8 different files, it kind of refreshes your memory, okay, yes, he did this, here's the evidence, I remember that. And the other part of this is that the board can at any time go through here and submit questions. So there is a tab here on the home page that says School Board Member Questions. So if you want to submit a question or require a certain piece of evidence from me, you simply log into your Office 365 account, get into SharePoint, pretty simple to get there, submit your question, or you email Summer and say, hey, I'd like to see Matt address this in his evaluation, and it's submitted in here in writing so everyone can see it. Right? And the part that we like about this a lot is that it's very transparent, and board members can at any time go on here and see what evidence has been submitted. So we'll go in here and take a look at a couple other things. Staff relations is an important part of superintendent leadership. The board needs to understand how I interact with the staff. And so I have some emails in here, some different feedback forms. We conduct surveys of our staff. Every time we have a professional development session, I usually submit the entire survey as part of my evidence to say we're always kind of asking our staff for feedback in terms of what their thoughts are, whether it was good or bad. This was a staff email that I sent kind of outlining where we were at with our COVID numbers and providing staff with some detail. And in this particular one, I also showed a response of one of our staff members who said, thank you for this, I was confused on a few things, and I even have a medical background, but I understood this so much better. Thank you. So, I get a couple hundred emails a day. I could forward all of them to you if you'd like, to determine if I'm relating with the staff in an appropriate way. Fortunately for you, I've selected a few good ones here, the highlights, and you can take a look at it. But this is our system. And like I said, I like it. It's really good. If you're interested, and the one thing I always say about evaluation in Lapeer is that if you design an evaluation system that is based on helping people grow and improve in their practice, which is what we do here, you're not afraid of something of this depth. Because when I go through here and have to dump evidence into these different categories, sometimes it triggers in me, you know what, you haven't been doing a really good job of this because you don't have a lot of evidence. So you might want to think about being more deliberate in a particular area. So it's a good reminder for me, and it's ongoing through the course of the year. It's not just, hey, here are my goals in June, and then 9 months later, tell me how I did. It's kind of like a dashboard. It's existing all the time. We're always talking about it. The board is always getting updated. So what I'll do tomorrow is I will send the login procedures, which are right here, which show you exactly how to get into what I'm showing you right now. I'll send this to you, and at your leisure, you go and review all the evidence you want. I've just shown you a couple of highlights, but the purpose of this is to show you how I collect evidence, and then your job as a board member, I put it in there, your job is to review it, right? And you have all year to do it. It's not a, holy cow, this is up in March and I haven't done anything and I've got to read all this information. The best way to do it is to read it every time I give an update. So with that, I'll take any questions you might have about that process.
I would like
Comments?
I would like to help you out. You're a better communicator than apparently you even know. Because in what you sent us, there's a direct link that takes us right to that.
Wow, I'm pretty good.
So I had to chuckle because as I went through the direct link, one of the pieces of evidence I find in there is the instructions on how to get while you're at it, right? So,
Just wanna make sure you didn't just trip on it, man.
so I mean,
You made it Nolan proof.
exactly right.
Well, good. So I encourage you to do that, and then, once our new board members actually formally, take their seat in January, we'll even have additional training on how to navigate through this process. Looks like a lot, it's really, really not that hard. It's like mind blown, not that bad, and once you get in here and just start clicking, it's really easy to navigate, so. Fear not, it isn't as horrible as it appears. Trust me, it's a lot worse for me, okay? All you gotta do is read it.
Again, the
You
hard
have to
part.
pick what to put in there. Any other questions? Thank you. So let's get into the action items on the agenda this evening. Our first one is group consenting of the approval of the minutes of October 7th, 2020.
I move the approval of I move the reading of the minutes be waived for the minutes be approved as presented.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and support. Mrs. Becker?
Aye.
Mrs. Schultz?
Abstain.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mr. Nolan?
Aye.
Mrs. Novak?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Okay, next is the extended continuity of learning plan.
We'll make a motion that the attached ECOL needs to be approved by the board on a monthly basis. Please note that the attached plan has remained unchanged since it was voted on at the October 7th, 2020 board meeting.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Mrs. Becker?
Aye.
Mrs. Schultz?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mr. Nolan?
Aye.
Mrs. Novak?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Okay. Board member communication. Any topics anybody would like to share this evening?
I'd like to say kudos, Matt and the team, for, it seems like right now, every day a letter goes out. Unfortunately, that's the bad part of it, but it's an amazing job that you guys are doing, because instead of just saying, you're out, you're saying as few people as possible are out for X amount of time, because it's so easy to just say, man, we're not gonna get into all this, that whole group is gone for so many days, and it takes a lot of work for you and the staff, and it's whoever's figuring this stuff out, to track that, contact trace it, and keep it as minimal as possible. So kudos to you, kudos to the staff, the members, the people that are taking care of that. I don't want to be a part of it. That's an amazing task. That's a lot of work. So I just want to say kudos. That's amazing. So that's unfortunate, but it's amazing for all you guys are doing. So keep this face to face as long as possible.
I'll share that with the people that might be responsible for that. Good job, Mary.
It's our life.
Any other comments or?
Sure.
Okay.
I have in my hand the official election results, so I would like to say, I mean, first of all, it's an unfortunate choice of words, this, because you were greeted with, well, we sort of have to do this because we've met so many days. It's a privilege for us to have you up here with us.
Yes.
And
Very much.
And for those who, I can't imagine any of you don't know who Lisa is, but for those of you who don't, people have been after her for years to run for school. And it probably is no coincidence that when I'm on my way out, she finally decides.
Well, she was waiting for the right time.
Right. So for tonight and next month, it's my privilege to be up here with you, Lisa. You are a very welcome addition. And for Craig, no surprise, you're back. Thank you. Thanks for sticking your neck out there again. You have already had a great taste of how really not fun this can be.
Right.
And how usually the only time you ever hear from anyone is if they're upset about something, and how you don't get a whole lot of thank yous. Yeah. So your willingness to come back and do it again I really appreciate it. And for April and Tim, fantastic. I mean, you guys, it's too late to run the other way now. And likewise, I'm very pleased to have you here. And at least for me, it makes me feel that much better knowing that in my time that I'm done, that we're going to have people like you two up here, serving with the rest of this board. This is a very professional board. It has been functioning at quite a high level for quite a long time. And for as much pressure as you can have put on you as a school board member, I don't even know if that's appropriate to say, you guys are going to slide right in. The district is going to benefit from your leadership. Feel free to speak up. Not everything Mr. Monterey tells you is always 100% right on the first time he tells you. And
Thanks for coming tonight, folks.
and he'll be the first one to acknowledge that. He's more than willing to speak with anyone about anything, and Matt and his team, and Mark and Michelle, Kim, and everybody. They're very open to communication. I mean, everybody understands that there are always other ways to approach things, and sometimes even better ways to do them. And what you will, and I didn't mean to leave you off, you will understand pretty quickly that as part of the process, they want you to look at things. They want you to pick them apart, because when they roll it out, they want it to be the best it can be. And so, jump in there and do it, and because you'll do our district a favor when you do that, because these guys always are interested in putting up the best product that we can. So, congratulations to all of you. Welcome. I think it's fantastic. Like I said, I feel good leaving knowing that you all are coming in the door and taking the place. Like Craig said too, I want to echo the fact, I don't know how you guys are doing it. If there were ever, battlefield conditions, you're in it. And, I was waiting to see if Craig began his time with dear parents and staff. We are all getting used to seeing that, that's for sure. But every time we see it though, it's sort of a perverse way of looking at it, but we know we're getting those letters because we're keeping kids in school. It would be very easy for you guys to throw up your hands and say, you know what, we're done. But everywhere I go, including a couple places I was at today, I keep hearing, I don't know how you guys are putting up with this, I don't know how you're doing it, but well done, because we know you guys are keeping kids in school. It's just, and I'm pleased I'm not here on a daily basis to have to go through with you all the things you're going through. But, I mean, we can't thank you enough for all the things you are doing and keeping your kids here as best you can. It's, in my opinion, like we talked before, there's no substitute for face-to-face learning.
Public comment.
Right, we saw an example tonight. So, anyway, that's it. I just want to congratulate you, new board members, and Craig for returning, and thank you for your anticipated service. And welcome aboard. So.
Hi. I want to second that. I worked a grueling 18 hours yesterday at Alba, and so I didn't get to see. I know you said you were outdoor at Alba, but I was indoors. But yeah, congratulations. I was kind of, and I'm sure this happened with all of us, honored that quite a few people called or texted me and said, "Who do I vote?" And so I told them. So it was nice that people, respect your opinion. And but congratulations. I can wish you 15 years of joy.
I thought you said 6.
No, you gotta do more than one term. But yeah, those terms were 6 years when we were out there the last time. But yeah, it's been a great experience. So I wish you guys just want to show, the progress that I've seen since we got on, compared to, what has happened with the schools through these years is awesome. So congratulations. And we've got a week till the craft show. After all the work that's gone into it, I'm hoping, thanks to Mike's wife too, but we're doing every precaution we can possibly do, and just hope that it's the kickoff for this year's senior class. So next week, the 14th.
Anybody else? I just want to say welcome to. I'm really pleased with the outcome of the election. I'm really excited. I know you guys will be shoes that are gonna be very difficult to fill. I think you guys will be fit in right away and do an excellent job for our district. So congratulations, you guys. I look forward to bringing you on in January. And then the other thing is, I really do appreciate the in-depth, even though I know it's a lot of work, the in-depth investigation that you guys do. I mean, that's what's keeping our kids in school, is all of that. And having our kids start to maybe help the process by remembering what they've done the last couple of days. So, just wanna thank you again for that. So with that, Superintendent Laundrie,
Thank you,
you
Madam
want to
President.
share?
Vice President Hagedorn couldn't be with us this evening. He texted me and he would like, on his behalf, to extend his congratulations to our 4 new members, Lisa, Craig, April, and Tim. So on behalf of Brad, congratulations. And I want to echo everyone's thoughts. I think it's sometimes, and I've said this a number of occasions, that being a board member in a public school district is sometimes the most thankless volunteer job that exists. There's a lot of benefits, a lot of great things that you have the opportunity to be a part of. I know that as I look across this table and in my 10 years here, we've been through some very difficult times, but also some very rewarding decisions that have been made at this table for the betterment of our community and for our students. And I know that the folks that are departing were a huge part of putting this district where we're at right now. And that is a competitive district in the 21st century that offers our kids unparalleled opportunities in the region. And that's no small feat, and it doesn't come at a small price. So as much as they're offering you some fair warning, because there are some challenging times that come with the seat you now occupy, there's also some really great memories that go along with it too, and I can't wait to be a part of that with all of you. I think it's also important to recognize the other folks who ran. Anyone that decides to put their name on a ballot, put their flag in the ground and say they stand for something and spend time campaigning and desiring to be a part of this board deserves our recognition. So special thanks to you to Carol Brown, William Hamilton, David Poirier, and Darlene Atwell, who's a late writing candidate. But those folks wanted to be in your seat, and they wanted to be a part of this team. And they put themselves on the line in front of their entire community and said, "Judge me." And that's tough. And as hard as a campaign is to be a part of when you win, it's a heck of a lot harder when you're on the other end. And so if you see these folks out in the community, I want you to shake their hand and say thank you for attempting. And we really appreciate them because we know they care about our schools just as much as we all do. I want to thank Summer personally. You know, being a board member sometimes comes with it some sacrifice. Her daughter is competing this evening in varsity level volleyball in a district game as the father of 3 athletes. I don't know if I would be able to do that. And but she's the board president, and she made a tough choice tonight for everyone else's kid. Everybody else's kid came before hers tonight because her role to lead these meetings is very important, and she takes it very seriously. But you know, not without a thank you. So I really appreciate you being here, knowing that, let's be honest, as fun as my presentation was to see, I'd rather be in a playoff volleyball game right now. I'm just saying, they're pretty awesome, they're intense, they're fun. So thank you. To Craig's point, and everyone that echoed the efforts of the staff as it relates to the quarantining and the contact tracing, there are 2 people in this district without whom we would not be where we're at, and that's Kim Seaferly and Mary Moss. This literally has transformed their job description. The Colt team is peripherally involved in supporting the 2 of them, but when the rubber meets the road and the actual work of putting all the investigation materials together, working with the building principals to figure out who's getting called, dealing every single day with the health department to determine the final quarantine list, it really boils down to 2 women, Kim and Mary, and they're both very committed to the idea of limiting the list, so they know that it's going to require more work on their part to deep dive into these investigations, going through every single scenario with the health department officials to make sure that they're advocating for the smallest number of kids and staff to be quarantined as possible. We have been, the last 4 weeks, every Saturday and Sunday, talking as a team about a new positive case and the number of quarantines. It takes us till the end of business on Wednesday just to deal with the cases that came on the weekend. So, unfortunately, Mary and Kim are shirking their responsibilities in their other role, that of administrative secretary to the superintendent and the board and the director of human resources. So I've authorized them to be able to work on the weekends so they can complete that work. And that will be evidenced in my evaluation as well, that I am a generous boss and allow them to work on Saturday and Sunday so the rest of their work can be completed on time. No thanks necessary. Both welcome. But all kidding aside, absolute workhorses, could not do without them. So thank you very much. And my final comment is a question. Denise Becker, how many craft shows have you been in charge of or been a part of?
Since 2006.
Wow.
My last kid graduated 2012.
So 8 years beyond your own child's personal benefit. What you're looking at up here are very, very selfless people by the very definition who give up their time, not just to this board, but in some very significant philanthropic ways in our community and in our school district. And Denise, on behalf of our students, thank you for continuing to put up with the biggest headache in the district.
This year.
Because if you've ever tried to put something together where you're asking other parents to get involved, like project graduation, it is a nightmare that I do not wish on my worst enemy, because you're trying to do a great good with very, very little help. And it is a monumental lift to try and give 300 plus kids a nice send-off from our school district with 3 or 4 moms. And
400 kids.
yeah, right. And you're looking at a couple moms up here that have put a lot of years into that, and nobody beats Denise in that regard. So thank you so much. I yield the balance of my time to you, Madam President.
Thank you. Okay, and that brings us to,
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion and a support. Mrs. Becker?
Aye.
Mrs. Schultz? Aye. Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mr. Nolan?
Aye.
Mrs. Novak?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries.
Wait a minute, I think we should add a new tab to his evaluation.